sorry?
I'll have the papers.
Oh, there's paper back there on my desk. Okay. All right. Also, a couple people came up to me and they said, "Yeah, I was gone yesterday. I mean, what do we do?" You can always check Schoology. It's not like I don't want to tell you, but always check Schoology first. I mean, anything that we did, anytime we go over material, you can check. There's videos that you can watch. So I mean, if you were gone yesterday, we started the section yesterday. I have a feeling if you're gone yesterday, you're going to be lost for a few minutes. I would assume what you would want to do is look at the video, start back at question number whatever we started on 3, 5, whatever we started on.
3.
And then go from there. So anyhow, so we're on exercise number 23 on 6-2. Okay. Number 3. Not sorry, 3, 23. How many put 3? 23. Okay. And they ask us to evaluate 32 to the 3/5 power. 32 to the 3/5. Okay. We talked about this yesterday, okay? And you've never done this before. Yesterday was brand new. If you were gone yesterday, you missed this. You didn't see this. And even if you're here, you might have forgotten it. I just want to make sure you understand. If I ask you 32 to the 3/5 power, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. So we rewrite it, okay? We write it with a radical symbol. A radical symbol is like a square root symbol. What's the first thing I'm going to write?
5.
Why?
The first is last.
The last thing I wrote was a 5, so when I rewrite it, I write the 5th root of 32 to what power?
Third.
To the 3rd. Okay? Now, off the top of my head, I don't know what that is. What I want to make sure you understand is this. We can either take the 5th root of 32 first, or 32 to the 3rd power first. It doesn't matter, but generally one of them is easier than the other. If I asked you 32 to the 3rd, you should know what 32 to the 3rd, what it means. I don't know what it is. It means not something. 32 to the 3rd means what times what times what? 32 times 32 times 32, which is a big number. Now you might be going, it's like 96 or something. We're not adding, we're timesing. 32 plus 32 plus 32 is 96. But 32 times 32, and you can easily calculate it, but we're not going to do that. This is one that you should be able to figure out. Just cover up that 3, don't look at it. The 5th root of 32, we talked about this yesterday, okay? We want to know what number do you times by itself 5 times to get 32. Now, should we check, for example, 3? Could 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 possibly be 32?
No.
There's no way. Why? You may not know what 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is, but you should know it's what kind of a number. It's an odd number. What kind of numbers should we check to find out what 30? What kind of numbers? Even numbers. Let's start with 2. That's the easiest number of all. Easiest even number other than 0. And we know it's not 0, because 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 is 0. Let's try 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 32. So this is 2. We're not done yet though. 2 what? What have we ignored so far? To the 3rd power. And again, a real popular wrong answer is 6. It's not 2 times 3. It's 2 times 2 times 2, which is what?
8.
2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. This is the number 8. 32 to the 3/5 power is 8. Okay? And again, I've said this from day one. It's mainly towards the newer students that have only been here a couple weeks. I really could care less that you know the answer is 8. I want to make sure you understand it. I mean, when you do this on your assignment, are you going to get it right? Yeah. Is my goal that you get these all right? No. My goal is that you understand it, okay? So that you'll be able to get them right on your own. Okay? So I'll just put down 8, okay? 25. We have not talked about this yet, okay? Negative 36 to the 3/2 power. We have not talked about this yet. To the 3/2 power. Well, first off, I don't know what that is, okay? So we're going to rewrite it. The what root of what? What's the first number I'm going to write? 2, or the second, or the square root of negative 36 cubed, okay? Let's do the same thing. Let's cover up that 3. Let's not look at it. The square root of negative 36. We have not talked about this yet, okay? What's the square root of 36? What can you times by itself and get 36? 6. 6 times 6, okay? A lot of students say, well, so the square root of negative 36 has got to be negative 6. It's not. Why? What's negative 6 times negative 6? Positive 36. Think about this. What'd you say? How do you times a number by itself and get a negative? You can't do it. You can't do it, okay? Think about it. How do you multiply and get a negative number? You have to multiply what? A negative times a what? And if you times a negative and a positive, the numbers aren't the same. Now you say, what about like 6 times negative 6? Those aren't the same number, okay? 6 above 0 and 6 below 0 temperature-wise, they're both cold, but they're not the same temperature, okay? You can't times a number by itself and get a negative, okay? So, the answer right now is not a real number. It's not a real number. When you get to Algebra 2, you're going to learn about something called imaginary numbers. Don't worry about that, okay? Not right now. That'll be in a year or two, okay? There's actually something called imaginary. That's a really bad, I hate they use the word imaginary, because students hear the word imaginary, you know what they think? They think, those don't count. Yes, they do. You know what imaginary numbers are? They're numbers. They're imaginary numbers. They are numbers. It's kind of like this. I'm not going to get into imaginary numbers right now. I just want to point this out to you. Think like a third grader. For some of you, it's not that hard, okay?
Hey.
How'd you know I was talking about you?
Because you
Okay?
looked straight at me whenever you said it.
Okay. If you're thinking like a third grader, you guys did algebra back in third grade, whether you realize it or not. They never told you that, but you did. Your algebra problems look like this. 2 times box equals 10. That's an algebra problem. But we don't use a box, we use a what? X, a variable, okay? So, hopefully, I had like 3 times triangle equals 12, okay? 5 times circle equals 8. Now, this one right here, I mean, hopefully back then, you go, well, yeah, you did worksheets like that. They say, oh, well, 2 times 5. You know, you're learning your times tables, 2 times 5. And then what goes in the triangle here? 3 times 4. Think like a third grader. 5 times what gives you 8?
Negative.
What's a third grader going to say?
3.
Well, okay, but they're thinking adding. Maybe if they're thinking adding.
1.5.
But let's say it's really, I'm not being smart alecky here, but you know, a smart third grader is going to say, well, 5 times something give you 8. They're going to raise their hand and say, Mr. Ko, you can't do that. You can't do that. Okay? Because what don't they understand yet?
Negatives.
Not negatives. It wouldn't be a negative.
Imaginary.
Decimals and fractions. They don't understand fractions and decimals. You can times 5 by 8. I'm sorry, 5 by something and get 8, but it's a decimal. Okay? Answer is actually 1.6 if you're curious. Okay? So, if I was to ask you, what is the whole number answer to this problem? What would you say?
No.
There isn't one. But if I tell you that there's such a thing called decimals, are there answers then?
Yeah.
Yes, there are, okay? So, the square root of negative 36 is not a real number. There is no real number. If you type that in a calculator, it says error. But there is something called an imaginary answer, but you don't need to worry about that in this class. You know what you need to put down? Not real. And just don't worry about it right now, okay? When you get to Algebra 2, we'll talk about imaginary numbers, okay?
Yay.
They're not difficult. They really aren't,
You
okay?
say that about pretty much everything.
Oh, no, I tell you there's some things that are tough from time to time. Okay, number 27, okay? Now this one's a little bit different, okay? Negative 128 to the 5 sevenths. Okay, I don't know what negative 128 to the 5 sevenths power is. So we're going to rewrite it. The 7th root of negative 128 to the 5th power. I don't know what negative 128 to the 5th is. I know what it means. Negative 128 times negative 128 times negative 128 times negative 128 times negative, you know what that number is going to be? Really, really, really big. I'm not going to do that in my head. I can't, there's no way I can do it in my head. Or I gotta be tough. But let's do this. The 7th root of negative 128. Is there a number that, forget the negative right now. Just ignore the negative right now, okay? What could I times by myself 7 times to get 128? I'll give you a clue. Well, there's a clue on the board, kind of. Anybody want to take a guess at it? Ignore the negative for right now. What could I times by itself 7 times? Should I try 3 to get 100? Should I try 5?
No.
What kind of number is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5?
125.
What kind of a number? An odd number 5 times an odd number 5. Listen up, okay? And there's more than one person that's struggling with this, okay? This is a very basic concept. What do you get when you keep multiplying a bunch of odd numbers together? An odd number. What do you get when you multiply a bunch of even numbers together? An even. That's not a hard concept, guys, okay? So let me ask you this. I want to end up with 128. Should I check even numbers or odd numbers?
Even.
Why? Why even?
Because
Because it's an even number. You need to check even numbers. So should I check 3?
No.
No.
Maybe 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe 5?
2.
2, 4, 6. What do you want to try first?
2.
2. It's the smallest one, okay? So again, I don't expect you to know that, but you shouldn't be trying like 3 and 5 and 7 and so forth. Question. Can you hold off like maybe 5 minutes? Okay, let's try 2. Ignore the negative. What's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 32. Double 32, you're at 64. Double 64, you know what you got? But do I want 128?
You want a negative 100.
So it's not going to be 2, it's going to be
Negative.
negative 2. Negative 2. Because what happens when you multiply 7 negatives? Mauer, you're up. Don't talk, because I know you know the answer. What do you get when you multiply 7 negatives? A what? An odd number. 7 negative numbers. What do you get when you multiply 7 negatives?
Still negative.
Why? Because they're all negative?
Wait,
Shh.
I don't know.
You learned it yesterday, man. Tell them.
because 7's an odd number.
There's an odd number of negatives, okay? It's the number of negatives. It's even. Every two, listen, look at me. Every 2 negatives cancel each other out. So if you have an odd number of them, you got 1 left over. That makes it negative. Got it?
Okay.
All right. So it's going to be negative 2 to the 5th power. What kind of a number is that going to be? Positive or negative? Negative 2 to the 5th. Negative or positive? Why?
Negative.
What's negative?
Odd number of.
There's 5 of them. That's odd, okay?
Yeah.
So it's going to be negative something. And 2 to the 5th, we did that back here. 2 to the 5th was 32. So it's negative 32. Okay? All right. I'm not trying to pick on you. I do like to pick on you, but now I just want to make sure you learn this, okay? You got it now, you think? So I'm going to let her turn around and smack you next time you don't know it, okay? She said it 4 times. And that's what it's going to take for you to learn. I'll have her smack you. Okay. 27. Okay, 28's the next one. 31. We're skipping. 28's the next one we're skipping over. So we'll go to 31. So 2 more to go. 31 and 33, and then I'll let you guys work. 31. 1/1000th to the 1/3. This looks like a tough one. It's not that bad. And again, I've said this on every question. I'm going to say it again. I don't know what the answer is. So we're going to rewrite it. Let's rewrite it with radicals. The what root? What am I going to write first?
You do these problems every year, don't you?
A year apart, yeah, why? Well, I don't have.
And you never be like, hey, kind of remember.
Usually I memorize everything I ever come across ever. Because I can't memorize all that stuff.
Oh, come on, be realistic here.
I know, but you
Everything,
can't
really?
remember,
Have you seen the
every
way he
once in
looks?
a while, yeah, I remember doing that one. I already know what it
Have you
is.
seen the way he looks? You really think he's gonna remember that?
I'll be honest, okay? When I said 32 to the 3rd, I don't know that. Yes, I do know the answer to this. But my point, what I'm saying, when I say that, I'm kind of going from your point of view. I've been doing this for 26 years. You guys have been doing it for 2 days, not even 2 days yet, okay? What I'm getting at is this. If you don't know the answer, we rewrite it. Let's rewrite it, okay? So, what am I going to write first? Yikes. 3. That's the last thing I wrote. So, cube root of 1 over 1,000 to the 1st. Now, you don't need that 1 there. Now, I'm thinking, I can't do this. This isn't that bad. Take them one at a time. What is the cube root of just 1? What do you times by itself 3 times to get 1?
1.
Why?
Because 1 times 1 times 1 is 1.
Anything.
1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So 1 over, what's the cube root of 1,000? What do you times by itself 3 times?
10.
Why?
10 times 10 times 10.
What
So
about 10 times 10 times 10 is what?
Oh, no,
1,000.
10 times
10 times 10 is 100. Times 10 is 1,000. So the answer is
Okay, what did we add?
110. Okay? 33. Last one to do with you guys. Okay. 27 to the negative 2/3. Okay, this brings in stuff that we did last week. Do we like negative exponents?
No.
No, we don't. So we're going to rewrite this as 1 over 27 to the 2/3 power. Remember, if you have a negative exponent on top, move it to the bottom. Negative on bottom, move it to the top. What do you do with a positive exponent?
Leave it.
Leave it alone. Okay? If you're not sure what 27 to the 2/3 power is,
Rewrite it.
rewrite it. So 1 over, what am I going to write first?
27. Or 2.
3. Why 3? Why am I writing 3
Last thing
first?
you wrote.
It's the last thing I wrote. Cube root, 27 squared. Okay. 27 squared. That means 27 times 27. I'm not sure what that is. I think I know, but I'm not sure. But the cube root of 27, that one you should be able to figure out not too bad. The cube root, what do I times by itself 3 times? And be careful, a lot of students think it's 9.
Oh,
Okay? 9 times 9 times 9. I mean, 9 times 9 is 81. That's way too big already. 3. Why?
3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is
27. So this is 3 squared. So 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over, and don't say 6.
No.
3.
No.
Not 2 cubed, 3 squared. 9. How come it's 9?
3 times 3
3
is
times 3. Well, how would you get 8? What were you doing? You were doing 3 times 3. You
I
were
was
doing
doing
2 times 2 times 2.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Okay, question on these. Okay, you got the rest of the hour to work on this, and then tomorrow during virtual day, work on whatever you don't finish up, okay? Let's get at it.